All right, I think that's been about a minute, so we'll go ahead and get things started. So thank you all for being here for our first Lex Advanced workshop of the spring semester. This one we're actually kind of revisiting and updating some stuff we talked about a number of years ago with talking about release conditions in Brightspace. And I'm going to hand things over to Janice Florence. Get us started.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you could attend today's workshop. And we're titling this one, Set Students Up for Success Using Release Conditions. I do have a wiki resource page that our voice of the chat will drop into the chat, where the slides and resources that are referenced in this workshop are. And so, as you know, our Learn Everywhere Zula course was designed around quality matter standards. And the advanced part of that takes a deeper dive into some better pedagogical practices and then Brightspace tools that can help you to achieve those. And this topic today is, as Jay said, is one that we are revisiting. It's one about release conditions. And what we'd like to cover today is give you some benefits of conditionally releasing your materials. Jay will share with you some examples of release conditions that he uses in his courses. You'll also get some information on how to create and attach those release conditions in Brightspace, and we'll end with some best practices for setting them up. Before we get any further into this, I have a question for you. And I'm just curious, are any of you using release conditions at this time?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right, great. Then hopefully after this workshop, you will begin to use release conditions. And I see someone has indicated yes, and that's great. If you,
That was me.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I know you're going to share. All right, thank you. Okay, and release conditions basically allow instructors to create a custom learning path through the materials in your course. Your learners have to fulfill something before gaining access to specific course content. Conditionally releasing materials is actually a benefit to both instructors as well as students. And for students, it could prevent them becoming overwhelmed with the amount of material that you have in the course. Release conditions could help ensure mastery so students can demonstrate that they understand the topic before moving on to the next. It can support students who may be struggling because you can identify those and perhaps provide them with additional materials to support them. Increases student engagement. It actually promotes self-directed learning where the students can take more ownership of their learning and build their confidence. It's also a benefit to instructors, as I said, because you can use it to differentiate the instruction, provide the students who need one thing instruction, those that need additional help, provide them with the materials and information that they need. So it's an easy way for you to allow the system to assist you in creating that. Can help you with large classes because you can use release conditions to identify and release materials to certain students and other materials to others. So it just kind of helps you to manage your classes, as I said. It can help facilitate recovery by giving the students who are falling behind additional information that they might need. And then you can use the data that's being provided to give you some insights as to what's going on in the course. There are three common types of conditions. One being time-based, where information is materials are released based on specific dates and times. And this is actually handled with the availability dates in Brightspace. So you can set those up that certain information is released on dates and times that you specify. And then the release conditions themselves are action-based as well as achievement-based. So you can release something based on an action that a student has or has not done, an achievement if some conditions are met. So for example, passing or failing a quiz or completing an assignment.
Let me switch over and share my screen. Now I'm going to show you a few different ways that I'm using these things now and have used them even more intensely in the past. I'm teaching an asynchronous class this semester. And so one thing I do, as Janice was talking about, is every week they have what's called a learning guide, which maps out the learning outcomes for the class that week, gives them an overview and gives them basically a very detailed list of the work they need to do over the course of the week. I've got those set up so that the students can only see those when the week starts, right? So they can't see week 4 until we get into week 4, right? So for that, I'm just using that idea of the time and date function, right? So Sunday mornings, it opens up. They've got full access to everything that's in that page. Right? That's pretty straightforward. So they don't ever actually have to do anything except wait for those to come. And I do have some students who are constantly asking me why I don't give them everything all at once. Another way I'm using it this semester, one of the challenges I really have with this asynchronous class is they've just got a lot of things they need to do during the week, right? Do this, read this, write this, take this quiz, those sort of things. It's just all that. And no matter how I organize it, I always have students who say they're a little confused. They're never quite sure if they're done with everything, right? So what I started doing was using the awards tool in Brightspace, and I made a little award for each week. So it just says week 1, week 2, week 3, whatever, right? And on those, I've got a set of release conditions based on the work they have to do. So once they do all of those things for the week, they get that little award that says, hey, congratulations, you've completed all of the assignments for week 1. Right? Sit back, enjoy the rest of your week, or whatever the case may be. And so that gives them that little bit of confirmation of, hey, yes, you've done everything I asked you to do this week. So those are pretty straightforward to set up. It's just kind of going through and selecting each of the activities that I want them to do, right? And I just kind of have to say that all conditions must be met. So it's not just that they did some of these, did they do all of them, right? And if they forget one, they don't get it. So if it's Saturday evening and they haven't gotten the award, by week 3, they know I need to go check and see what I forgot to do, right? Because they haven't gotten that little award. Another award I set up, I just kind of called it every couple of weeks, they've got this concept quiz they can take, right? To go review the terminology and ideas that we've discussed and worked on over those 2 weeks. It's just a self-test, right? They can take it as many times as they want to. They only have to take it once, but they can take it as many times as they want to. And then this award is just triggered when they get 100% on any of those concept quizzes, right? So whether they take it once and get 100%, or whether they take it 5 times and get 100%, right? If they get 100% on one of those concept quizzes, they get that award. It just says, congratulations, great job. You've done really nice work learning these concepts this week. So that's just a little affirmation for them. I really like using those because, again, we know that those little affirmations can be really beneficial for the students, right? Just the little reminders that said, hey, you've done everything this week. Good job doing everything this week. Great job on the quiz, right? It's nice to see that 100% or the A or whatever the case may be, but to get a little message that, hey, congratulations, you really knocked it out of the park this week, can help, is really good for some students. Other way I did it, this is a class I used to teach. I haven't taught this in several years. The dean's not online, so I'll kind of share how I was using this for that class, which he might not particularly like. Right? So this is a grammar class. It's very much set up like a math class, right? They would do a bunch of work over, kind of over the weekend. On Tuesday, we would come in and basically go over the homework and make sure everybody understood those basic concepts. Right? And then on Thursday, we would do the more advanced stuff based on those concepts. And that was the basic pattern for the full semester. And so what I decided to do, and this was back in 2020, so this was the coming out of COVID era as well. So this class was fully online. I would say if you got 100% on the homework, which is kind of automatically graded, right? And you got 100% on these little entry tickets I would do, which would just kind of basically retest them on some of those skills that they were working on for the week. If you got 100 on both those things, you don't really need to be in class on Tuesday, right? Because you've mastered all of this stuff that I want you to master, right? You're welcome to come to class, but you don't have to come to class because you might, it's just going to be kind of reiterating what you already know, right? So like I said, don't tell the dean I was doing this. Right? So what I did is I set up a series of announcements which explain that to them, right? So this one is the first place announcement. And it says, because you both completed both the homework and the entry ticket for this week with near perfect scores, you don't need to attend today's class. You're welcome to if you want to. And here's the link for the meeting, right? And then here's what you still need to do before Thursday's class, right? And then this was conditionally released, right? If they got a 95%, so basically if they got everything but one right on both those, the assignments and the entry tickets, they got this announcement on, I think it was probably Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, whatever the case may be, right? And then I just had second and third place ones as well. So if they got a pretty good score on the entry ticket, and as long as they did all of the homework, they got a message that said, nice job on doing all of that work. You did pretty well. Here's the link for class on Tuesday. And then if they were struggling a little bit, they got the bronze award, third place, right? This one was triggered if they either did not complete the homework or if they got kind of below a C on either the homework or the entry ticket, right? And this one basically said, again, we'll see you. Here's the link for class on Tuesday. And by the way, why don't you stick around after class and we'll talk a little bit about what was giving you the most trouble with this, right? So in that way, I was rewarding and acknowledging the success of the students who were doing really well, right? I was staying in touch with all of the students, and I was also kind of connecting with the students who were really struggling and saying, not only do you need to come to class, but maybe you should stick around a little bit afterwards so we can talk more specifically about what was giving you problems. So those worked really well, right? Now that worked out for me. Most people were still coming to class, so don't worry, they were getting out of a lot of classes. So these were announcements that only the students that were directed for each of the students. So only the students who got this particular trigger would see that particular announcement.
Excuse me, Jay.
Yep.
Got a question from Kelly, which
Yep.
have a really good question. Can their peers see these badges? And if so, any concerns about FERPA?
Yeah, and like I was saying, these aren't badges. These in particular were announcements, and only the individual students would see the announcement that was released for them. and it would even just have their name on it. And the announcement didn't actually have any specific grade information in it, but only the students who got this third place award would see that third place award, right? And for the specific badges, and Janice can correct me if I'm wrong, I think if somebody looks at your profile in Brightspace, you can see the different badges you get. So that for those badges, I would be careful. I'm not going to have a badge for students who are having trouble. Right? I'm just having badges for students who are doing kind of really well.
For badges and certificates, the individual user would have to share them
Oh, okay.
for other people to be able to see them.
Okay.
The instructor, of course, can see all of that.
I think
Did
Amanda's
you
got a question.
have these custom announcements automated? Because I didn't know. It seems like I've seen the option to have, I've seen it used, an option to have announcements appear for a group.
Yep.
But not a person or other.
So
You can
it's
use other release conditions.
well, so yes, these announcements, and Janice can correct me if I'm using the wrong language.
Could
These
you repeat the question?
Amanda was asking how to do these kind of customized announcements, right? And I was going to say that this is an announcement that only somebody who got this specific criteria would receive. So basically, it's kind of like an ad hoc group, right? It's not a group I'm making, but basically, there's only a subset of students who meet this criteria. They would all see that announcement, but then I can also do the replacement strings to customize it even further so that it says, "Hi, Amanda, it looks like you were having trouble with the homework." So then it customizes it even more.
I never thought of it.
And then I
Just
made
putting the name in there.
Yep, yep.
Feeling that it's way more custom.
way more feeling, right? This is a handwritten. This is like a handwritten note almost, right? I made all of these at the beginning of the semester, right, and just had them set, and they would only be triggered when the students hit those release conditions. So as soon as they turned in their homework and turned in that entry ticket, the release condition, and Janice can probably explain kind of the time lag that might be in place for some of that stuff. It's usually pretty quick though. Would trigger it, and then they would get that announcement.
Right. Yeah, there is a slight lag, and I'll cover that. The other thing I want to point out as well is every month we get an update to our system, to our Brightspace system, and something that is new within the last 2 months, I believe, is the send email copy. So if in 2020 that had been in place, Jay could have checked the box that says also email a copy.
Yep.
Right.
That would have been very helpful because I had to kind of train them over the first few weeks to say, make sure you're checking Brightspace at the beginning of class or before class to get the link for today, right? And some of those students would log in and see that message. So having it sent by an email would have been a nice little kind of double kind of covering all the bases.
Right. And if you're not following us on Cat Food, I would suggest you do so. So there's some additional information about that new feature in a blog post. Thank you.
And I think Janelle's got a question. She's got her hand up.
Yes. I have a question, but I'm going to go back to what you just mentioned regarding the send email copy. And I noticed that a few weeks ago. And I saw it was there, but even in the past, when I would post an announcement, I would always get a copy of that announcement. So I was trying to see what was really new about this particular feature.
Before you were getting a notification, I'm pretty sure. So you can set up what you would like the system to notify you about. So if you go to your personal menu, everybody, students, anybody with a Brightspace account can go to your notification settings, and then you can say, I want to be notified see, when a new
Maybe it was
announcement is available.
automatic because I've never gone into that portion to set it
Yeah.
up. But I would always get a copy of
Yeah.
announcements
And,
that I would send.
and as a matter of fact, I would encourage the students to go into notifications and set that up as well, because see, you can also up there at the top, I think, decide how you want the notifications to come to you. Do you want a summary, or so they can, your only option is email now. It used to be that you could get text
Oh, okay.
messages as well, but that feature was taken away.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
But I think the difference now is that if you turn on that email option, this goes back to what we had with Blackboard 15 years ago, and a lot of people were kind of frustrated that we lost it, which is that an announcement was posted to the course, but it was also sent as an email to all of the students. And so now Brightspace is basically caught up with that one little detail.
And the text
But
is
so that wasn't,
gone.
so I had that question, but then my other question was, so these, announcements that you were showing, so do you create it in announcements and allow it to be released, or where are you creating this?
Yes. I came into, if you come to course admin, the easiest way to do it is course admin and announcements.
Okay.
And then you can make 1,000 announcements and schedule them or set release conditions on them. Or just
Okay, so you do it in the same place.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe one more question. Where did we get it?
Oh, I was just gonna say that the text option, I mean, the option to receive literally a text message is gone, but they can go into Pulse and they can set up their phone notifications so they can still receive the information. But you have to go to 2 places to customize the 2 kinds of reminders.
For the Pulse app, you've got to set up the notifications in the Pulse app. For email, you've got to do it on the
So
home.
I show them both.
Yep. That's good. All right. I'm going to hand things back over to Janice.
Actually, Jay, I was hoping you would show them how to actually create
Okay.
and attach. So if you can just run through that real quickly.
Sure. So let's just imagine I wanted to do a release condition on this one. Right? I'd come down here and it says additional release conditions, right? So I could use the time and date as Janice talked about, which is technically a kind of release condition, right? Just one that doesn't require any student action, right? Or I could come down here and either attach an existing. So if you've got a bunch of those already, you can see, I could just reselect an existing release condition, or I can create and attach a new one. And it's pretty much always the same. It says, what condition type do you want to use? And so you can attach it to assignments, awards, checklists, all sorts of different things. Their placement in a class list. Right? So I've got a different release condition on all my classes, which says as soon as they're enrolled in the class, send them this email that welcomes them to the class. If they've looked at content on that course, right, participated in a discussion, then you can see for each of these, you can narrow it down and say, is it because they posted to a discussion, or is it that they never posted to a discussion? So again, if you wanted to, you could be really generous and remind students, hey, it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday afternoon, and we've got a discussion post due by tonight. You might want to log into Brightspace and do that, right? So you could again catch up with them and just send them a little bit of a reminder, right? So this says for this discussion board, they've not posted anything to the board, right? And it's going to send that to them, right? And so when we get to that particular time, if they've not posted to that discussion board, in this case, they would get that announcement saying, hey, don't forget, we've got a discussion post due at 9 o'clock tonight.
Jay,
Yes.
I think it's Janelle asked, can specific announcements be pinned to the top? That's a good question. I don't know that one.
I don't.
I don't.
Go ahead, Jens.
I was just going to say, I don't think that you can pin an announcement. Announcements are displayed based on the start date
Mhm.
for the announcement.
Yeah, I know, but one of the older systems, I guess it was Blackboard. You could pin,
You can,
you could pin certain amount, and that one would always, stay at the
Stay to the top. Yeah.
yeah. So I was, and I asked that question
Oh,
because
I
I
told a tale. He pinned
wanted
one.
something to remain. Oh, you can't. Oh,
Yeah, he
I think
pinned one.
I think you can
There
do
you
that
go.
yourself. I don't think this is pinning it for everybody. I think this is me keeping an announcement on the top for me only.
okay. So, and that one is pinned. All right, all right.
For yourself.
Thank you.
For myself. Yeah, I don't think you can do it for everybody.
If you wanted to keep it up there, you could make a widget that has that information, and then you could customize your homepage so that widget appears above your announcement list if you had something that you wanted to keep right above there.
Yep.
That's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to hand things back over to Janice.
So in Brightspace, these are the tools that can have release conditions that you can add release conditions to. And as Jay already showed you, the awards, you can also do checklists, content, modules and topics, discussions, assignments, grades, announcements, as we have seen, quizzes, surveys, and intelligent agents. And intelligent agents are a way for you to automate communications with your students. You can send them emails and then also custom widgets. These are the tools, like I said, that can have release conditions. So you can attach several release conditions to an item. And this was an example that Jay showed where he had a number of release conditions and the students had to meet all of those. And so in this example here, a final exam is released to the learners, but they had to have completed all the previous assignments and attain a score of 69% or higher for every quiz. And then the final exam would be released to them. You can attach multiple release conditions to an item and have the learners only have to meet one of them. So for example, you have a week 2 module and it's released to the learners if they completed the week 1 assignment or they scored 75% or higher on the week 1 quiz, or they created a discussion thread in the week 1 discussion forum. So any one of those 3 things in this example, if a student met one of them, then the item would be released to them. So basically, one of the conditions must be met or all of the conditions have to be met. With release conditions, there is no option where the student can meet so many out of so many, like 3 out of 5 assignments and then release this. If that is what you're trying to do, then you'd have to figure out a way to accomplish that with the way the release conditions are set up. And these are the release condition types. In other words, the tools that can act as a trigger for your for the release. And so awards, checklists, the class list, as Jay was showing you in the list, these are the condition types. So if a student, for example, received a low score on a quiz, then you wanted to release additional course material to them. The quizzes tool could act as a trigger. I want to mention a little bit more detail about a couple of these, and one of them is the condition type grades. So it's 4 different things. The students receive a certain grade value on a grade item, or no grade was received. The released final grade score, and then a score on an associated rubric. With the grades, the grade item types that can be used with this grades release conditions are going to be numeric, select box, and pass fail. So if you have, for example, a calculated grade item, then that is not one that's available to be able to use with the grades release condition. It's, like I said, the numeric select box or the pass or fail. And with content, when you're looking at that, your options are the learner has visited the content topic or not visited the content topic. Did they visit all the content topics? Did they complete or did not complete? And visited is determined by that completion tracking method that you select for the topic. And the completion tracking can be automatic or manual. The method of completing that topic is going to depend on what it is. So is it clicking on a link to view a file, or for an assignment, they would actually have to have submitted to the assignment submission folder for it to be marked as completed. And what I would like to do is get out of this slide share, hide my floating tools, and then go into this Brightspace course and show you what I mean with the completion tracking. So you can see my course here. It's an intro to oceanography sample course. And this is my week 2 plate tectonics module. And so I have a due date for this. In the description, I've added some information about the module. And then in here, I can see that I have 12 topics that are in here. The first one is this introduction of oceanography textbook. And in the description area, I'm indicating to the student that you need to read chapter 3 for this. And there's also 3 videos to watch. There is an assignment that they have to do. And there's some availability dates attached to it. There's also a discussion forum that they have to contribute to. This is a journal, the nautical logbook. This is a journal that they have to do. And then they're going to take a test. But before they take the test, I'm providing them with this link that's a guide to taking tests in Brightspace. They're required to take this practice quiz because the quiz is online and I want them to be able to get some practice at how to take this quiz, especially since Respondus Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor are required. So before they can gain access to quiz number 1, I have a release condition attached that says the student has to complete 1 attempt on this good study skills practice quiz, and they have to visit the content topic guide to taking tests in Brightspace. Notice it says all conditions must be met, so they have to meet both of these before the system will release this quiz to them. Once they're finished taking the quiz, I have a how to view a completed test submission that also has a release condition. And it says that they have to complete 1 attempt on the quiz 1. Once that's done, this is released so that they would know how to be able to go in and look at their test submission. There's a checklist for week 2 that they need to do. And then one option here that just says take a moment and just breathe. And in all of these, in the description, I have some information that's helpful to the student. As you're going through Brightspace, one of the things you may or may not have paid any attention to is over here on the right, this check mark. And notice I have a check mark and then I got a check and a, so anyway, the default is that the completion tracking, the item is required and it's automatically marked complete. So for this OER, if the student were to click on this link to get to the textbook, once they click on the link, the system would mark that automatically as visited. This one, it is required, but it's a manual check mark. So the student, I'm asking them to watch a video, and when you're done, check the box that says that you have done it, and that's what's going to mark it as being complete. Also in the instructions here, I'm indicating that as well. When you've finished, please check the box. So I have that. It is required, but it's manual on the 3 videos. And then automatic for the assignment and the discussion, the quiz. And then this last one is not required at all. So let's see what this looks like when the student views it. So I'm gonna change this over to view as a student and go to content. And so you might recall that there were 12 topics in this module. And the system here is saying that there are 8 that have not been completed. Also, you get the status, the student would get the status bar that says you're 20% complete. In this case, you've done 2 out of 10 topics. And so the ones that are completed do have the check mark. So if the student had watched the video, in order to mark this one complete, they would have to check the box because this is a manual tracking. So that's basically how the completion tracking works. I want to point out, I'm gonna get out of this. I want to point out when the students see this in on an iPad or on a phone, on a mobile device, it's going to look a little bit different. This is an older screenshot of what that module looked like on an iPad. And so when the student gets into that particular module, they see the topics, the names of them as I have it. And notice you don't see the descriptions right away. So here, the fact that I've indicated I want you to watch this kind of tells the students within the name what they're supposed to be doing, right? I took this screenshot from a mobile device today, and this is kind of what it looks like. D2L added the fact that you can see the details, but you actually have to do a little bit more to see them. So if I wanted to see that initial description that I had in that module, then I would have to click the view content details. If I want to see the additional description that I've added for the others, I would have to click on the 3 dots here, and then that would expand the description out. And for those where the students have to manually check the box to indicate that they have completed it, if you do the manual completion, then yeah, they would have an option here where they could actually click on the check mark to indicate that they have completed it. Any questions about this before I go back?
If you do the manual, do you lose the automatic data? Or could you still see, like if they don't bother to check that they've done it, would you be able to see that they clicked? Or if they lied, check that they had done it when they didn't really click to watch the thing. Would you be able to see the automatic data that you would have gotten before?
Did you hear that, James?
I think you said if they don't check the box, that actually repeated to me.
If you check the manual box,
Right.
do you lose access to the automatic data?
That box just indicates whether or not the student has completed, has visited that item. So if I go back here to content,
Are you talking about like completion summary?
But once you marked an item as automatic versus manual, once you've marked it as manual, then when you pull up what that student has visited, it's now going to display to the professor as unvisited unless the student manually marks it visited. Is that correct?
Correct. So here in this topic where I'm saying watch plate tectonics explained, I come down at the bottom of the page and this is where my completion summary information is. So this shows that none of these students actually clicked on the link to get to this page. With this video, I can't, even if the student clicked on the link to watch the video, I have no way of telling did they watch it all the way through. Right?
Both are flawed.
Pardon me?
Both methods are flawed, right?
Correct. Correct.
If they just click it and they don't really watch it, you get a false automatic check.
Correct. Correct. Right.
But if it's manual, then they can just go check, 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 check.
Right. And likewise, if it is automatic, they can just click, click, or move. Yeah, see, I can navigate to the next one. If it was automatic, I could just navigate through and get through real quickly. And that doesn't say that I watched it either. I think probably an activity or an assessment or something could let you know whether or not they actually watched the information. If they clicked on through and then they have to take a quiz or something and they're failing the quiz, then obviously something went wrong. They need to go back and watch the video.
You could also use voice thread for the video. Yeah. Voice thread will actually tell you whether or not they watched. So there's kind of third-party options to get that overview.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? All right. So I'd like you to, at this point, think about one of your courses and what is one action or activity that you feel could benefit from being conditionally released. Would anyone want to share as from the information we've presented so far? No one?
Well, I mean, I've used it for some things. Sometimes I do a quiz, a self-check.
Yeah.
So I set it up like a quiz, but really it's a self-check where they grade their own assignment. Sometimes I try to make the weights on the quiz mimic my rubric so you could theoretically grade your own assignment, see what you would get, and they have to do that before it will unlock the assignment for them.
Okay.
And the feedback built into the quiz invites them to take this opportunity, if it doesn't look like their grade is going to be good, to fix their assignment before they upload it.
It's kind of like the pre-test Janice was doing. They have to complete a self-check before they can actually access the actions.
And I'm thinking, one thing that has bugged me in the past is that I wish I could have different deadlines for different groups.
Yeah.
Which you could do for things where you have a turn in assignment. You can customize the deadline that way. If they like sign up, they sign up for different dates, and then you can. But it's bugged me that I didn't think I could do it for a checklist. But now I realized during this session that I think I could do it for a checklist if I just have different versions of the checklist. Because sometimes there's a lot of, I like to organize a multi-step project into a checklist that may include a number of things in the checklist that are not a turn-in item. And so, but I've been stymied by the idea that once I create the checklist, the deadlines can't be customized.
Right.
But I could customize the whole list, and then I could just make a copy of that list, change the deadlines, and then have this list viewable only by those who signed up for this date. This list viewable only by those who signed up for that date.
Yes, that's
You can also use groups. Groups where they enroll themselves in this.
Yeah, that's how I do the sign up.
And then you can get group deadlines.
Yeah, but in the checklist, I need a whole different checklist.
Okay, yeah, so
But that would be
group
work
based
around.
checklists.
Yeah, because previously I was disappointed that in the assignment, you can customize the deadline for a group, but in the checklist, you don't have that. It doesn't pop up. So I couldn't just change the date, but I could make a whole new checklist.
Yeah, you could just
And it wouldn't be confusing to them, it'd be confusing to me maybe, but it wouldn't be confusing to them because they would only see the one that pertains to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are different places in Brightspace where having different dates to things would be helpful. And so D2L is pretty responsive, I would say, to the user community. And so the product ideas exchange, the PI, it would be the place to submit requests. And someone may have already submitted that and we can upvote it. So, all right. I have a few things that I'd just like to share real quickly because we're approaching our time. Is that when you are using release conditions, it's very important to explain to the students that information is going to be released based upon their completing an action. And so if you think back to our Learn Everywhere Zula course, there are multiple places where you will find information and instructions telling you that you have to do this in order for something else to be released. And so that's very important that students understand that their action is going to cause something to be released. And if you want to be able to see what has been released to students, you can use the class progress and content reports to see that information. And so if in your course, under the table of contents, if you go to related tools and then view reports, you can get an overall view of what the whole class is doing, but you can drill down by user. And here in this example, I can see that this demo student has 49 total topics available to them. They visited 19. And so here, module, what it's calling module 1, the Get Started Here module, has 7 different topics in it. And all of these have been released to the student. And then the second one, the Course Overview and Introduction, has 5 topics. And this one has not been released. You can see here that there's a release condition on this. So this student has not met the criteria for this to be released to them. You can also see in class progress what has been released. If you go to class list, click on the arrow to the right of the student's name and then do view progress. when you come into the progress report, it takes you into the summary page. But if you click on content here, you can actually see that same 19 of 49 topics were visited. I can see that 7 topics are available in this Get Started Here module. The student has actually visited 4 of the 7, but then here in my course overview and introduction, the student has done nothing there. So that these are two ways that you can figure out what has actually been released. All right, and I'd like to just check in as we wrap this up. Do we have any questions?
This was really great. Thank you.
Okay.
It's given me a lot of ideas since we're actively building out courses for the College of Medicine right now. So this has given me a lot of good ideas. So,
all right.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so I want to share a few best practices with you before I let you go. It is best, if you can, to set up your conditions before the students access the course. This way you can check for mistakes in your conditions. Once a condition is met, it cannot be reset. So if the students are already in there and you're trying to set up something, they may have already met that condition. And if so, you cannot reset it, okay? You should avoid unnecessary conditions. So as we talked about, there is a slight delay when the system is processing release conditions. So it's going to take a little bit of time for Brightspace to process it. So you only want to use conditions that are necessary. So for example, in your course, students are going to take several quizzes throughout the semester. A prerequisite that you're setting up for them is that they must take a practice quiz so that they can get familiar with taking the quiz online, right? With how the tool works. You don't want them in the middle of the quiz trying to figure things out. So you give them that practice quiz to get them familiar with it. You can set a release condition on quiz number 1, as I showed you in my sample module, that the students have to take the practice quiz in order to gain access to quiz number 1. Adding release conditions on the remaining quizzes are not necessary because I just wanted the students to get an opportunity to take the practice quiz. And this should have been accomplished if quiz 1 is unlocked, then that means they did take a practice quiz. But what I will say about a practice quiz, especially if you're using Respondus Lockdown browser, is that practice quiz should be set up so that they have unlimited attempts to take it, and it's so that they can take it through the entire semester. Because they may start out the semester using one computer, and that computer goes out, and now they have to use their roommate or their friend's computer. And they should be able to have the opportunity, if they wanted to go and run through that practice quiz on the new computer that they're going to be using down the road. So like I said, a practice quiz should be available throughout the whole semester, and they should have unlimited attempts at taking it. Avoid circular references. So this is going to be conditions that learners cannot satisfy. So for example, I'm asking them to read a document before they can post to a discussion board, but they have to post to that discussion board before they can access that same document. They will never be able to satisfy that condition. Avoid conditions that are impossible. So this example here, learners must achieve greater than 100% on a grade item. It's going to be impossible for them to meet unless you set the grade item up to can exceed the score, can exceed 100%. That would be an impossible condition for them to meet. Conditions that are contradictory are going to create a problem, and so you should not do that as well. In this example, the Learners must achieve greater than 49.9% on exam 1, and they must achieve less than 50% on exam 1. There's no way that they can meet that condition. All right. And as soon as the recording is ready, we will also add that to our wiki resource page. Our Voice of the Chat dropped the link to that resource page in there. And so are there any last minute questions? And as I said, this is a repeat of a workshop we did a few years ago. So for anyone who did not earn the badge the first time around, your attendance and participation in this workshop today will earn you this badge. If you've already earned it, we appreciate your attending this workshop. And I have some confetti for all of you. All right. Are there any questions?